start again.
Debbie and Margie here from Simply Special Crafts. Today we're taking a look at Contemporary Christmas Part 2. This is part of the 2021 Craftaganza series. And we're going to start with set number 6. Margie's going to show you what she did with this next topper set.
This is our Mistletoe Kisses. And
oh, that's beautiful.
Isn't it pretty? It's very elegant, and we get glare in various different places, but hopefully you can see how rich that black looks with it. In fact, Debbie, bless her heart, she said, "Which you choose your favorite one first," and this was it.
I love it. I think it's beautiful.
It's really, really pretty. Again, they've given us a couple of larger toppers and then several little ones, and our 2 borders. And they've done some foiling around their frames as well, which is part of where you're getting some of the glare back, which makes it really pretty to have that foiled in there too. This is our regular cardstock.
They did a particularly elegant job with that one without the foil, didn't they?
Yeah, they sure did. And it's just very simplistically elegant. There, that's getting fancy and stuff here these days.
I'm just thinking that's a Margieism.
Fancy with the paint on my hands. I just realized I've been painting my craft room, getting it ready to get set up because I finally have all the floor laid, and so I'm excited. So you guys are just gonna have to bear with my paint fingers.
It just looks like a true crafter.
And then this is our foil piece, and again, it's just got a nice, beautiful, and honestly, guys, it's this little tiny pieces of foiling that go in and out with a pattern on top of the cardstock that make that just really shine.
I love this cardstock.
So pretty.
I think it's just spectacular.
Okay, so let's see what we did with it. I don't remember.
Lay the cards up and show them.
I was doing it as a frenzy. Okay, so I think I'm just going to start here and go with what I did. So I have the middle of the cardstock going this direction with my card. And so it is your standard center card.
Yep. I believe those were hot off the press center step cards.
I believe so. Honestly, I was taking from the multiple choices over there, and I did not have a lot of the companies. So thank you for pointing them out. Press. Yeah. So
we're down to the last few of those, but we're going to see if we can have some similarly made. We're going to give it a shot.
Oh, good. And so you can see that it has a full piece throughout. And so I went ahead and I put on my cardstock, and I did it flat, and then it does take a little bit of work, but if you don't attach your card base yet, you just work at your other pieces, then you can come back in from the top after that and fold this on up, and it really works very nicely if you want to keep that print going. If you don't mind one way or the other, nobody's ever going to see these. It's just my little pieces of things that I do that I just torture myself with is really what it happens. So this is your foam squares on the middle of your center with the outside on your regular foam squares, inside glued, outside on your foam squares. And I've got our little piece of the one that says to someone special right here. And what I did was because I had so many of these, I went ahead and I just took the other one that says Mistletoe Kisses, and I put the somewhere special on top of that, and that's how you get this nice rounded out border right there. So that's how I got that. And then I just added some pearls onto my little pieces of mistletoe, because the mistletoe, the little berries are white. So I went through and I just found some of our various different gemstone pieces of pearls that we have from Hunkydory and used some of those.
I love that extra texture that adds with the pearls on there. That's beautiful.
And I forgot to say, this needs the border strips up the sides, or else it will just have the very plain. It's not plain. It's actually very nicely done. It almost looks like stucco. But just to give it that extra shine, I've got the border pieces on each side too. Next one. This is from the Craft Style Gatefold Arches that we have. And so what I did first was, my goal was to get this part cut out first. I wanted my mistletoe to hang down. So I came from right up here at the top and I just took off that section, glued it down to my whole front first, and then I cut it down the middle. And I did that because I wanted everything to pop up where it was at. So from there on the front is a piece of this that I cut out with my circle ring, and I hung it down here again, so you can still see the border is similar. It's mimicking it right here. I just took a circle die and cut right into here. I put it as close to the edge as I could so that it would cut it. And then I made a gold circle just out of some gold mirrored. And then I added one of our little topper sayings. So here's really where you're making a topper to make your card larger to use your little topper. Say that 5 times fast.
That's actually very, very clever, just to make your own circle. I'm not sure if everybody caught that. She's making a 3.5-inch circle right from here on down. Isn't that clever? That's a great idea.
Yeah, 3.5 is total. That includes the gold that's on it. So
that's very clever.
That's our topper. It also gave me the thickness in order to be able to do this so that it could stand up, because you want this as it opens to have the thickness that it needs in order to stand on its own. Because one of the things that you should always do is know that your card can stand up. So if you have a piece that's a little thin, then you're going to end up with something that's a little bit more floppy. And then as it reveals, I actually put my main big topper in the middle.
That's so cute.
And by doing it that way, I then added my insert to the back. And so I mimicked the front right from the back. So this is literally the insert that takes it in and around. So you can open or shut it as much as you want. And I added another little saying here that says, with love always on it. And the front little one says, you mean the world to me. And then my little topper in the middle has our gold pearls. I took, you know what? I took the gold ring as I see, and I open it, and I should have opened it ahead of time. As I see it, I took the gold ring out of here and put it over the top of my 3-inch, 3.5-inch circle. So that's where I got that. But you can do it with your own circle dies as well. Of
course, yeah.
And then I put a border piece through the middle.
I love that.
And I felt like just with the doors and everything, it kind of has with the pieces of organics to all of this, I thought, you know, it kind of reminds me more of along the line of Asian inspired card. And so that's part of the reason why I put my border right smack through the middle, because that's used a lot in a lot of their gates and things at some of our local places that we can go and see in the Japanese gardens and in the Chinese gardens here in town. So that is how I used that one. The next one was taking the opposite side and using my entire section for our DL on the front. And it is a DL that I cut in half. So I attached it, I cut it in half. I actually put my border on it first. I cut it in half. And then I manually put in these two folds. So I used my scoreboard, scored them in, folded them up. And now I then made a stopper piece. So you've got, and you can see your mistletoe hanging and your words from the front. And I put just a section of my cardstock here, and I put it up on foam squares with some of our craft style or craft perfect papers that we included in our ultimate kit. And I put one of our little toppers there with our insert down there.
And we should probably alert people that you really need to place these two facing towards the fold,
Yes.
so that they will stand upright when you create your easel.
Yes.
So if you look closely at these, you'll see that these are actually sideways on the face of the card in order to stand upright when you open it up.
So it says Merry Christmas up here at the top, and I will bet you almost certainly that most people are going to be more interested in this part and the mechanism. You see this, so you think you're reading it upright, and these kind of come into focus more once you've opened it up, and I don't think anybody's going to ever notice. And besides, if they do that, they can just turn their head to the side and read it ahead
of time. This is called a double easel card.
Yeah. And that just came from the DL card.
And it's gorgeous.
Oh, and I wanted to make sure that I said that I put pearls on the border piece so that it kind of followed through with the rest of the set on those little border pieces. And then the last one on here is the leftover piece of this black. And again, I had a couple of extra toppers, and this was just too pretty to go without using it.
It's beautiful.
I really, really felt that way very strongly. So down here at the, I was able to use a DL card. And so I glued it on right here, but I only did it up to here. And then I took the leftover that I had down at this space that I didn't use from my arch card, and I glued it along the side. So again, you'd never know that it wasn't full and it wasn't a full piece. And so then from here, I ran some silver. It's actually kind of a pearlescent thread. It truly is a thread. And I just glued it down in my spots that I held it with pearls. So don't glue it everywhere. Just put it down, kind of start your plan, and then glue your pearls onto the thread part way, and then just hold it down for just a little bit. If you've got your heavier glue, it will just hold right down. I didn't have to glue, because otherwise you're going to see glue marks on this black. So you don't want to glue your thread down, or else it kind of ruins the effect. But here's one of our little toppers, and I've got a season's greeting sticker, and I used one of our charms that we have from downstairs that is one that I did have to hot glue on. So
a little button
piece.
That's adorable.
It's not one of our slider ones that we have in our charms, but it is one that has a fairly flat backing.
This is a perfect example of raiding your craft cupboard to find some of those fun elements that you have in there, whether it's the style of the button or whether it's the the filament that she's using to, create the string running down through there. That's one of my favorite cards of the season right there. And it's made with leftover cardstock.
It is, because I just
beautiful.
couldn't throw it away.
It's
I'm
gorgeous.
not very good at it.
I love that. Next up, we have So Dear to Me. Here's the So Dear to Me topper set. You know I would do the deers. Here is a really rich and versatile cardstock without foiling. Here is, I love this piece. I have to admit that when I just looked at the Craftaganza kits this year on the computer, I felt like there wasn't a lot of originality this year. I felt like maybe it was kind of some repeated themes. I was delighted to actually start working on the cards and realizing that even though some of the themes are familiar, they went out of their way to create spectacular
Yeah.
background images this year. And this is an example of that. Just look at how beautiful the foiling is on that card. It is just outstanding what they've done. So even though some of the Craftaganza cards are in familiar themes this year, whether it be what they did with the colors of some of them, whether it's what they've done with the foiling, the unusual foiling patterns,
Hmm.
their background cards this year have been really spectacular.
Hmm.
And I really, really enjoyed this, even though some of the themes seemed a little bit familiar to me just looking at them. Here's how this lays out. I took this one from here. I took this one from here. I took this one. Oop, I took, let's see, I had to get this one in here. This one, oh yeah, this one actually comes from here, believe it or not. And then this one comes from here. Okay, this one comes off the other cardstock. Oops, this one comes off of this cardstock, and it comes from here. And I had all of this left. Now, I'll show you how it is that I was able to squeeze these together and use that much of that background because, of course, as you just heard me say, I absolutely adore this and I wanted to make sure I used every little bit of it I could. So let's start here. This is my corner treatment. I used a 5x5 card. I liked the way the white played in the back of this one, so I didn't cover it with mirror board. I simply cut my facer card, my layer, slightly smaller to let the natural white of the cardstock show.
Which works great with the
Which
white
worked great.
antlers. It really
It sure
makes them
did.
pop.
It sure did. I used 3 of my little glue-on or self-adhesive gems from Hunkydory, the gems in from the gold and silver set. I used 2 little ones and a larger one in the center. I used one of my border pieces to bring this in and to have a place to put that red topper. I felt like the deer was centered enough towards this side that it really needed to be counterbalanced with something to fill this area. So that's why I put the border on here and then put my button up on some foam squares. Next in, this one. Now, because I had already taken a 4 3/4 piece out of here, I didn't have a real wide piece left of this cardstock here. So I simply double matted it. This is another example of using one of those small toppers. This is not a very big topper here. And this is not a very big topper. But I used the remaining piece of this cardstock. I matted it on some red Adorable Scoreable that was right out of my festive Adorable Scoreable set. And then I put it on a covered gold A6 card. I put some foam squares under here, foam squares under here, and I love the way this just natural division um, laid out for these 2 smaller toppers. It
Mm.
just was a fun way to use those small ones. I put colored rhinestones in all 4 corners just to make the red pop even a little bit more. And that's how we were able to use this little skinny piece here to make another card. Now this one, again, I took this one from right here, so I had plenty of room to work with for this card. And I wanted to brighten this one up a little bit. I love the deer on it, and I truly adore the background, but I needed a little bit more brightness. So on this one, I have covered my 5x7 card with some gold Mary, and I ran a bright red piece of ribbon across the back and tucked it in the back. I took my 3-piece frame apart, and let's look at the original frame. Here's the original frame. And we've got the topper in the center. We've got this bright red frame here. And then we've got this really ornate, beautiful frame around the outside. I put down the ornate frame. I turned the red frame sideways, which really played well with that ribbon running through it. And then put my topper up on some foam squares. So 2 of those gold rhinestones off of the gold and silver set, and boy, I love the way that turned out. It's really, really pretty, isn't it? That's really pretty. And then finally, this one, I've taken my 5x7 card and I have covered it directly with my cardstock. I have glued my reindeer down in the center. I've glued it directly to my card. I've taken this outside frame and I have put some Snowfall Mary on it. And then I ran shaker tape around this frame underneath, and I made sure that it seals off really, really good, that I don't have any little gaps at all in my shaker tape. I put gold confetti. These are actually one of the Nouveau confettis that are kind of a geometric shape, maybe an octagon.
Yeah, that's one of their favorite shapes.
And I sprinkled that on there. Then I put my shaker tape. I actually, before you put it down, you need to run an embossing magic pillow around on this acetate to kind of cut the static a little bit so that we don't have all of our confetti sticking to the, and they're still stuck quite a bit in this particular part. I don't know why, but you can tap it firmly and they go back down. But use your embossing magic pillow to cut the static and to deactivate the sticky on the inside of your tape, the inside, because when they cut the tape rolls, they get a little bit sticky on the inside of the tape too. So do that before you peel off your paper tape. And then when you peel off the paper tape, of course, you'll have the nice sticky edge all the way around. Then seal that confetti inside and you get this beautiful shaker card. We used more of the gold nail heads on this one, those silver and gold rhinestones. Put this up on some shaker tape so that it's at the same height as the other, and I think that's just as pretty as can be. An easy way to make a shaker card.
Really quick, what does that insert look like? Haha. So I noticed that each one of these, for the most part, she did with some of her little topper button pieces on the insides of each one of these. So it really makes that even more special than just an insert. And then you're using all of those topper pieces. So
Exactly.
I wanted to point that out. And she's also used her border pieces as well on the inside. This one didn't have an insert, but it had the pretty border piece inside. So I just wanted to show that.
Thank you.
So that we didn't miss the extra care that you took to do those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Your turn.
Here's the rest of that. Okay. So for the next set, this is called In the Winter Meadow.
I love this one.
There's 3, right? Okay. So I will say that Debbie made this one, and so I am going to work hard at trying to make sure that I add everything. But if I forget, you'll just have to remind me along the way. So we've got our 2 border strips, several of the little button pieces in circle, squares, and tag versions. And then we've got our two larger topper pieces. This is something that they've done a lot, I've noticed, is very consistent, which makes it easier because once you figure out what they were doing, then it's much easier to plan your cards out ahead of time. And it did make it, I know that we took a lot more time last year in making our cards because each one was different and we had to stop and think about each one along the way. And these made it very almost naturally you could move from one set to the other and still make them unique because every single one of these does not look the same at all. But it really let you know where you could take your pieces. So I did want to point that out because I'm pointing out my two large toppers and little toppers again. But man, it made it a lot of fun.
What fun and unusual colors this one is for Christmas cards.
Yeah, it's got it has a definite winter's feel. It says it's in the Winter Meadow. And what they've got, let me put it the right direction. It's got the reds that you would typically think of, but these are your beiges and your linen colors and your black that go along with it. And it fits in so nicely with your earthy, down to earth little hair hanging out over there. And then can you just see him popping his little head out of the brush and sniffing the winter air? Isn't that sweet?
I love the little Queen Anne's lace there, the way they foiled that too. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it turns out really pretty.
And the rich chocolate brown, that is just stunning.
Yes. Okay. So if I am correct me if I'm wrong, but the first one that you did was that I have here is your A6 little corner piece here. But what I noticed is that you've made it a little bit smaller. It felt like it was a little bit smaller than normal, but you've actually just put two of your border pieces on the top of your piece. And then wrap your ribbon round, and then you have your gold mirror that goes underneath. So it has our lovely little topper up here, our pretty little ribbon, and then these really make it just all pull together by having the ribbon around the top part before you attach it to the gold mirror on your A6.
And I was so proud of us for enclosing that chocolate brown ribbon. We must have looked at this topper set specifically to remember to enclose the chocolate brown organza in this Craftaganza kit, because who would have thought you need chocolate brown for Christmas, but we did.
Yeah. And I think that there were a couple of them that you could have probably gone with more of the brown even from. Okay, so the next one here came from this section of the card. And this is a 6x6?
Yes.
A 6x6. Okay. And then I'm kind of questioning whether we might have another one under here.
Yeah, we're missing a card. There it is.
I was wondering how
we're missing a card.
How we got away without doing that little piece. Huh? So this then goes right there.
Yep.
Okie dokie. So we've got our inserts on the inside. Isn't that pretty? And then on the outside, this is a
5x5.
This is a 5x5. Okay.
You know, this image was busy enough. I just, sometimes I just like to let the artwork speak for itself, because this image was busy enough with this big bunny and popping his head out and all that beautiful foiling and stuff. I just didn't think I wanted to do a lot to this one.
Yeah. And she's taken her borders and added a nice thick layer of foam squares, so it really stands out. I want to show you that.
I actually cheated and used my shaker tape there, guys.
Yeah. But it worked really well, because then you're not having to pop it on here, and it gives it a nice firm top. She's got an angled piece of border here, and then her little saying that says seasons Season's greetings. And then for this one, she cut it right from there, and she used her topper piece with, and again, she used her thicker shaker tape. And I know that sometimes we do them fairly low, but I really like this thicker piece. It really makes it stand out so that you can see the little pieces even in between. Like you can literally see some of the meadow poking out from the sides when you hold it up and move it around.
We gave ample shaker tape in our ultimate kit, so I used it very liberally putting my cards together, and I have to admit I really, really enjoyed doing that because I was able to cut my crafting time way back by running those strips along instead of picking off all the little foam square pieces.
It definitely saves you some time. I totally agree. So she's got her triple bow down here at the front with her regular foam on the outside, gluing the gold down, and then the foam in the middle. And then the little tag says sending, sometimes I can't read upside down when they do it in cursive, sending lots of love at Christmas. And then on the inside, she has the other half of the insert with another little one of her toppers on the inside.
I just think these cards end up looking so rich and beautiful, just the colors.
Yeah.
The colors are so pretty.
And then this one, came from right here. So you can see exactly where she put in her card size. This is a 7x7?
I believe so.
I think so. It looks,
yeah.
So this is a 7x7, and she's added this orange coppery Miri to the top, and it came as part of the festive kit, right?
It sure did.
So it worked perfect with these colors. It absolutely just fit right in. And in fact, even if you look around this topper, even though I said that it's got red berries, it has an orange topper. It is not a red topper piece that frames out that topper set. This one, she kicked it up a notch and glued this and the middle one down. And then in the very center, she has this one up on foam squares, and all the rest lay down. And I like that because your bow has a lot of bulk to it. And I think that if you'd done it the opposite way, it would have really have stuck out. So she put a little tag. So this is another great job with her insert on the inside and the little dot.
And look how cute that little button looks, just putting him there in the bushes.
Really cute.
I love that. That was really fun. I loved the rabbit set. It was great fun. Okay, this will be my last one, and Margie has one more. This is called Winter Sparkle. This has received lots of comments from customers who are loving this Winter Sparkle set. And why not? Because it's truly, truly elegant the way they've created it. I love the fact that you have this nice wide treatment here, because you know me, I'm going to get 2 cards out of that. And then I truly love this foiled cardstock and the way this kind of ornamentation in the foiling works with our finished cards. Let me show you where I placed my cards on the cardstock, and then we'll talk about them. This one comes from here. This one comes from here. This one comes from here. And this one comes, I'm missing a card. I'm missing a card. No, maybe I'm not. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Sorry.
Okay, good.
Sorry. And this one comes from here. So I'm still going to have this nice panel and this nice panel left over, but I love the way these lay out. Let's take a look at the individual cards and see what happens with these colors. This is a DL card, and just by lining this up with this ornamentation, look at the way that kind of pulls the eye down and you have that beautiful frame for these ornaments. This is a DL card, so this creates kind of a slimline card. And I didn't do a lot that was fancy with the organization of the card because I once again, I think the toppers and that background paper kind of speak for themselves.
Mhm.
So broke my frame in three pieces, as you so often see me do. I did use higher foam squares again, where I actually used my shaker tape. So these are standing up at 3 millimeters as opposed to my normal 2. Up on foam, glued flush, up on foam. Then this button is one set higher yet, so this is standing up 6 millimeters. And the stickles, oh, the stickles made such a huge difference in these cards. Look at the beautiful sheen and shine, and you compare that to without. Now, they were beautiful before, but look how much even more beautiful they become when you add the sparkle.
Put glitter on it, you know.
Put glitter on it.
All it takes. And this is at least you know, in glue, so it's not going to be everywhere, making a mess while you're making these
Exactly
beautiful
true.
cards.
Exactly true. Next up, we've got this one. And again, we took this one from here, but we have that same thing going on. Look at the way that foiling from the ornamentation and that stripe works together with this topper. Isn't that beautiful? I've taken, all I've done is covered my card. I didn't even cover it with Mary first. I covered my card from that beautiful foiled cardstock. I broke my frame in three pieces. I turned the center on corner, and I put the topper on top. I did do one thing that was unusual this time. Usually I will glue the background pieces down and then put the center topper up. This time I tried, because I was putting shaker tape underneath, I felt confident in this base and putting this base up on foam squares, and then these two pieces are on top. It actually gives it an interesting different depth.
It does.
And by taking this corner and turning it on corner, you can see that beautiful ornamentation right through the openings, which I think adds even more to this card. So you get a depth that's just stunning by turning that on corner. And then my season's greetings, my stickles, it just doesn't get prettier than that right there. Beautiful. Okay, next up, this is my corner piece. I've taken it directly off my corner. However, I did use one of those beautiful borders. This border here is just a little bit dull. I mean, I could make it fancier by just adding that border. Look at what a difference it makes to just put that border right over the top of that line there. And then I've simply added two toppers. You can see what I've done. This one's on foam squares. This one's on foam squares. This one's glued flush. And those stickles, once again, you know, give it some glitter. And you're rolling along. These two, I love the fact that they created this border such that I could go along and take two cards out of the top of that cardstock. I just love it when you can do that and get the extra cards out of there. So for as frustrated as I was with them over the stockings, they did really well here. I just want to give kudos where kudos are deserved. Between the ornamentation they put on the foiled cardstock and the fact that they did this beautiful border that I could get two cards out of, thumbs up for Hunkydory. They did a really, really nice job here. And so, love it with the stickles. I didn't do a lot. I covered my A6 card and silver mirror board. I put my foam under my sentiment. It just didn't need a lot. Now, you will see, I did mention before that this was kind of just a little bit of a dull border there without any foiling on it. So I took one of my throwaway pieces from here. See this piece right here between the two borders? It's got that beautiful foiling on both edges. See that?
Sure does.
That is what I've used here.
Make another border.
Make another border out of it, and now I got that beautiful foiling added to my card. And finally, this one, I did the same thing in terms of using a border. This time I used the gray border off of the sheet. And this time, just to be different, I glued this one down. But pretty as can be with that stickles on there.
And this is another one that can use that chocolate brown ribbon too.
Oh, it sure
if you
could.
want to add some ribbons in
Sure,
there.
you
I
could.
mean, there's beautiful. I don't think it needs any of those things, but if you decide that,
Sure,
hey, I want to do something different,
yeah, I want a little bit extra. You
you've got all those
absolutely
things
could.
in that ultimate kit.
You sure do.
All right, so last one. This one is called Swan Lake, and they are royalty hanging out here on these little beautiful sheets. They've got their crowns, their little hearts with love. I love that. Their necks make their love shape on there, and again with the various different size of little pieces, little toppers, which always means that I get to go crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Margie outdid herself on this one, guys.
This is the regular cardstock, the non-foiled. I don't like saying regular because it's not regular. It's beautiful. It's got 3, 4. You could possibly, truly, if you wanted to, get 3 different borders out of this if you chose to cut it up that way. And that was something that I did look at, but I really love the paper, so I tried to use it where I found it most to use. And again, the foiling on this is just very delicate. It's so light, but it is so pretty. And I think that if you had done some of the foiling as some of the other pieces of foiling, it would have been too much with all of this rich print that they have going on here.
And once again, let me just point out, look at the background here. I mean, this is not just purple. Look at the way they've done the modeling here and the blue greens. It's just
the water,
stunning.
It makes it look like it's moving.
Their backgrounds this year are outstanding.
They are. Truly, truly. Okay. So I'm not as good about laying out because I honestly tend to work organically. And what I end up with, okay, well, then I'm going to move on to my next card. So this is just coming off of the border. I believe that it was right through here. Now, I could say that that's not right, and it may be all the way over to here, but we'll take a look as we go.
It's in the white, and you can lay out your other cards and see where they...
So this one is a shaker card. Let me see. I think, yes, I did create it off of the end like this because in this card I used the rest of the white. So it will definitely need to hang out over there. And then on this card, I used our DL and I put it right through there like that. For this card, I used this piece right down here. So just very small there on the bottom. And then on this one, I used the top again. So these feel like they're, and then for this one, not only did I use some of it this direction, but I also used some of that direction. So you'll kind of see as we go how I used up all the extra pieces. But this is approximately where they were placed to be used. So I'm going to go back to the shaker card first. And the shaker card, I used my white. I used some of the extras just off of the edge for making a border piece out of this because, again, it's got that same mimic of the same print from one to the other. And you've got it right on there. And so it just kind of blends in naturally because it just falls within that print line.
I thought it was a piece of ribbon there. I
Yeah,
didn't realize that was one of your border pieces or
yeah,
your cut-off edges.
it is. It's the edge right off of there.
It's a throwaway piece, guys. That's a good one. I love
Um,
that.
so I glued down my border first. And because it's a shaker card, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get anything caught up on it. So I put my border down and glued that down first. And then I glued both my center and my middle ring in there.
Mm-hmm.
Then I added my shaker tape to the outside, did our acetate, glued that onto the border piece, cut around it.
Be sure you use your magic pillow.
Yep. Add that embossing pillow on the inside. You don't want them sticking everywhere. This is one of the Nouveau confettis that are little tiny hearts. Aren't those cute? Look, they're itty bitty hearts. And if you don't have those hearts, they make a blue one too. And they've got bluebell hearts, I believe is what they're called. So Nouveau does a great job with all the different types of shapes and colors that you can get. So that is my first one, and it says "Sent with all my love."
Beautiful.
And
look at that. See how much difference those inserts make? It's remarkable what a difference the inserts make in these cards.
Yes, absolutely. So second, just because these get a little convoluted with time if I don't break them out separately. This one that was here, I cut it on this side and I used my opening like this. So while this over here is C, nobody's going to know that. It's beautiful. So
no, it's gorgeous.
Use it, and it's okay to think about DL cards in going a different direction than what you first see them as. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to specifically point out when I made this card. I just put 2 toppers, one on each side, filled it with some extra of our snowflake rainbow Miri pieces with our snowflake pieces, and our little topper that says, "May the Christmas season bring you many special moments." And then on the inside, I use the same insert that mimics the outside. So beautiful. You would never think about it as that, oh, well, it's supposed to go that way, right? No. It just blends right on through.
It's supposed to go whatever way you put it.
That's right. So on this card, Brittany used one of these in the cute, this shape, and you used one in one of our autumn kits, and so it was open and it was an interesting shape, and so rather than going with the up and down this way, I thought, why not change it to the side and we'll use it in a different way. So then that way you can see how versatile sticker cards can really be in looking at it from 2 different directions.
In fact, I've seen one used this way and made a wedding cake out of it.
That would be adorable, wouldn't it?
Yeah, can you see that? They decorated these parts as the wedding cake.
Wow. Christmas anniversary, hun, take notes. I'm expecting for you to make me a beautiful wedding cake swan card. Can you do that for our anniversary? So that's a great idea. This is just literally the first part is trimmed from right here in the border. And I put it on, I attached my tape, and I then just put it right on like this with my finger lift tape, and I cut around because it was just the easiest way for me to be able to get in there and get those prints, and without me having to worry about it lining up just
These
right.
are really easy cards to cover.
They are. And a lot of times I struggle with cutting straight lines with scissors. I can do it great with a cutter, but scissors are a different story for me. I tend to angle, probably that left-handedness. And so with this, I was able to actually use my scissors, and it didn't make it hard at all. And so I put my little tag on with foam squares, did another topper piece here, and I put a little snowflake here. But then look, when you open it up, you got to keep it interesting still, right? So You open it up and you set it out, and it says Merry Christmas. And I added in a few extra little stickers of snowflakes in there too. So then it's almost like a little, hey, hi, I'm still here. And then doesn't that look great when you go to hang it up to stand it up? Then people can see the whole card. And that was part of it. I didn't want to just leave these little sections blank. I wanted to give it that enrichment.
Beautiful.
So that is that one. And I just want to point out that these two sections, I literally just cut off the height that I needed. It's really close right there to the border. And so I just cut right here and then used the white pieces from here and cut it down to the length that I needed for each one of these. Perfect. So wanted to make sure that you guys knew where I got those from. This one is our large topper piece right here. Let me see if I can hold things up at the same thing. With that topper piece, I wanted to, again, I really love, and Debbie keeps saying it too, I really love their background pieces. They are really good in this pack. And I cut it upside down right there off the top, and I made it my water on the bottom instead. And now I've got water lilies in the lake.
It looks adorable too.
So with that, I have the Festive Muri in, it's almost like a
pretty much cobalt.
Yeah, that would be a good description. It came out of the Festive Muri kit for this year. I then just cut my little piece here, and I gave it a big space, and I wanted to because this topper is so big that I gave it a good size gap between the two. So there is about 1/2 inch. If you're going to cut this, you're going to want to give it a 1/2 inch smaller at least.
Yeah. One of the things you can do is use this topper to gauge how wide you need to make it. It doesn't mean that the entire topper has to be on your background paper, but you can use this to gauge how wide you want that paper to be.
And that's exactly how I did that. So great catch with that. Thank you. Because I wouldn't have remembered to say that. I also moved my centerpiece up so that it could still shine through this really pretty trim down here at the bottom, which is why I put this on a skew frame. Normally we tend to center it, right? But it's not.
It looks great though.
It's actually way up here. So it was a lot of fun. And then I took my extras. Always save your pieces till you're completely done, because I took my extra pieces and I just put them in with some diamonds, square shapes turned to the side, or diamonds, right?
That's what I call them.
And then my little circle topper that says Season's Greetings to You. And it just turns out so pretty. So something that kind of starts out as a love concept and it definitely says that kind of everywhere. But I tried to pull a few of them out to where any of the ones that were solos, I stepped away from the love pieces. So you could really just give this to anybody. Somebody likes birds. Somebody likes
the whole Swan Lake concept,
things. Yeah, it's a Christmas theme, so it doesn't have to just. So keep that in mind too when you set these aside. I really want to do this theme, but I want to use this topper instead. So you can integrate your toppers in different ways too, if you wanted to have a couple with this piece.
I also like the way you stickled his wings here.
I did.
Show that specifically too, because that's pretty.
So I did it ever so lightly. And then I took, and it is so thin. It is a very thin little line. And I just followed the shape of the wing up and out, because they've made them translucent, their wing tips. So I moved that all the way up and out. And I did that on every single swan.
That's beautiful.
So each one of these, I did not point that out. Each one of these, I've done that with the swans. So they all have that pretty stickles. And I think that this one is the Twinkle because I wanted to have that blue show up. The Twinkle stickles. And then this is the one that I say I had a piece left over. I couldn't pass it up. So I took it and I went with it. Um, so I've taken and I've literally just cut it right here. It goes just past the bottom of behind the card so that it's kind of hidden. And what I did was I took a 5x7 and I folded the top side down. So this is really the card.
Mhm.
And I just took and used my scoreboard, put this side down, and then this is on the inside of my card. So if you're thinking about it from that angle, then we'll just start moving through how I was able to do each piece. So one of the things is, guys, I'm totally going to admit, because I was doing it as I went, I made a mistake. And so I had to recut because I accidentally stuck this down before I should have. And I had to cut off the card. And so one of the things that I did, and I'm going to talk about it right now first, is make sure that you're standing up cards that are going to be required when they're sitting to look at them. Make sure that they stand up, because with those mistakes that I made and I had to cut it off, the weight was too heavy in the back. So I actually had to just turn around and add another 5x7 backing to it, and then made my little piece back here.
Yeah,
It
don't
won't
skip past that
require,
too fast, what you're doing with
yeah.
this
Oh,
brace, because I
sorry.
think this brace is important. She's folding over a small tab to glue on, folding the tab itself in half,
In half
and then
that way.
gluing the little tab on the other side. So you have a tab on either end and a fold in the middle to create that brace, because that's very, very useful when you're making
That
some
are
of these
heavier.
cards that are heavier and don't want to stand upright. Those little
Yeah.
braces can be really useful. So that's just a neat design to know and use in those little reinforcements.
And on the front, I did the same thing because it needed that ability to stay in, because it wants to just slip right on
Spread
out.
out, yeah.
So by putting in that brace, it holds it in. So when you do actually open this up, here's your topper piece. Here's the bottom, I should say, of this piece. I tucked in a piece of Miri that we had from our festive Miri in behind it. And I then just took one of my extra little pieces off of here and made my border.
Now, where would you recommend signing this card? On this panel?
Oh, hey, you could. Or you could even put Merry Christmas in a sticker format right here. I think you could see it any which direction. Um,
Or you could go to the back, I suppose. But
yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of space on the back. Um, and what you want to do before you, in fact, you'll see that I did not tack down all the way at the edge here. My piece up close, because I wanted to make sure that I tucked in my backing paper. This is very thin. It's the backing paper out of the Craftaganza magazine. And I just was able to tuck it and tip it right in there, and it holds it down so nicely. And then on the outside of it, I cut my little squares. I put them on foam squares so that they stuck up, along with a saying that was in the sentiments book. It says, always Christmas. Oh, a happy Christmas is guaranteed with you. So, and then I used our snowflake stickers that we have. They match these blues. They come in a 3-piece.
oh yeah, the multi-pack.
They're the Juju, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
UU. Mm-hmm.
UU. Thank you. The UU pieces, and that's what I used for the sticker card that was in there as well. So they are also right up here in this corner, and by just putting on the stickles and adding on these stickers, it really enriched this little topper down here and made it nice. And then I just thought that teal made it look like a lake. And now you've got a full card.
Always clever designs from Margie.
I gotta change it up, you know.
Okay. Well, this has been Margie and Debbie from Simply Special Crafts. We have just completed our review of the Contemporary Christmas
Mhm.
2021 from Craftaganza. You'll see Margie again when we do the fun Christmas, festive fun coming up. And for now, I'm going to say good night, Gracie.
Good night, guys.